Welcome back to Taking Back the Dad Bod, and let's set some baselines for our adventure. Now, most of us are probably going to start off on a scale and get the number and see what that says, but it's not always the best representation of where you are on your fitness journey. So I recommend taking a video, like this hairy guy right here. We won't hold it against him, but we have front, sides, back, just kind of get a general sense of where we are body-wise. That's also why we're going to go through and take tape measurements of multiple parts of the body. All you need here is a flexible tape measure. This may be easier with a partner, but you can certainly do it by yourself like I do here. Again, some of these numbers may change a lot, and some of them we want to influence more than others. So it's good to take a starting measurement, even if you don't think it's going to change. You know, your full shoulder width there, we're going all the way around on the outside of the shoulders. This chest measurement, it's the same for men and women. You're going to go right across the nipples, all the way around, and you're just going to see where that lines up and take down each of these numbers. I'm going to do both arms, both biceps, both forearms, and then we have 3 different waist measurements as well. Now, when I was looking for a chart to fill out myself, a lot of them only had 2 waist measurements. I think it's kind of good to have 3, so you get 1 across the belly button, 1 at the hips, and then, well, I guess your butt's not really a waist measurement, but that's probably a good place to measure as well. Lastly, we'll show off these thunder thighs a little bit and get our last 4 measurements done. I'll show all my final measurements at the end of the video, and then I will link a copy of the spreadsheet that I'm using, so you can use that for yourself if you wish, and have that ready to go. So when we're done with our taping, we're going to squeeze in a quick warm-up here. We're going to put this on super speed because it's a little boring, but we want to warm up these muscles a little bit before we kind of get into our stretching, because we don't want to stretch on cold muscles. That's a pretty good way to probably hurt ourselves. Right before we get into that, though, we're going to have a little quick coffee break here, brought to you by I Wish It Was Quieter in My House. We're going to pretend that there aren't children running around all the time and fighting over the most mundane things. So let's just have a little quiet break here, and then we'll get to the stretching. I was serious. This was a quiet break. Each of these stretches are either problem areas or things that I do want to improve on, not just for this challenge or this journey, but in general, right? So we have our basic forward fold, try it with a flat back, and then do the full bend, see how far you get down. I can touch the floor. That's pretty good, right? Next, we're going to do, it's a straddle stretch. The idea is eventually you do a pancake, which is pretty close to all the way down. I think we're quite a ways away from that, but that just means we have lots of opportunity, right? Right? Nah, it's okay. You may be more flexible than this. You may be less flexible than this, but it's all about just recording where you're starting, because we're going to try and find the little wins and the big wins along the way. Now, maybe it's just the particular amounts of inflexible I am, but I've always loved the butterfly stretch. Thoracic spine or T-spine stretches, however, like this one, they do not feel great right now. That's okay, because that's what we're here for. Don't do any of these stretches to real pain, but they may feel uncomfortable. Hip flexors, the dreaded hip flexors. They're complicated, and stretching them is not the only thing you should be doing. However, this couch stretch is a very good stretch for your quad and that part of your leg. I tried to use a pillow here. The carpet's good enough padding in this instance. If you feel tight in this hip area, again, you're going to want to look to do some strengthening, some mobility stuff, not just sit here in these stretches all day. The stretches help, but sometimes when you're already tight, the stretches can really just make that problem worse. These last 3 here on the ground are just your classic splits. Right foot split, left foot split, and mid split. Once upon a time, it's probably been, I don't know, let's say 17 years to be safe. I was pretty good at the front splits, at least on one side. I've never been great at middle splits. You know, that is what it is. But again, we're just getting a baseline here. And personally, I want to see if I can get back to doing the splits again. It's not really necessary for any level of fitness. It's not necessary for any of the sports that I currently do. It's just a challenge that I want to tackle. And just look at this poor man's face. It's red. He looks like he's in pain. Man, I feel bad for him. Oh, wait, that's just me. Our final bit of mobility, let's see what our shoulders look like. We're trying to touch here. These should be able to, oh man, that's even worse. Hey, I'm up here. Come up here. I'm trying. Okay. Well, we got work to do there. There's a towel stretch that helps with that. Then we'll just check out what our shoulders look like. In general, I think my shoulder mobility is okay. I don't really have a lot of pinching. There's some clicking and stuff like that, but pretty much every PT I've talked to said that that's normal, and I guess we'll just accept that. If you were able to watch my last video, I talked about the Air Force PT test as kind of being a good baseline for physical fitness. A couple days ago, I did a session of Couch to 5K, which is a build-up running program, calculating out what my 1.5 mile run would have been. So I did that. And then the two other things that I need to test are push-ups in a minute and cross-body crunches in 2 minutes. When I was in the Air Force between 2008 and 2012, my best scores were during tech school, so about 6 to 9 months in my whole time during the Air Force. I remember I did 72 push-ups in a minute, 62 sit-ups, and did the 1.5 miles in like 10 minutes flat. Newsflash, we're nowhere close to that. That being said, let's see where our contestant is at today. So I'm using these little parallettes because my wrists don't feel great doing normal push-ups right now. But we got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, good pace, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh, he's already taking a break. 14? You only do 14 in a row? Okay, 15, 16, 17, 18. Oh, okay, another break. That's not going to get very far, but here we go. 19, 20, 21, 22. Okay, can't take any more breaks, bud. Let's go. 23, 24, 25. Okay, 25. We'll at least give him some credit for, I think, pretty decent form, would you say? I've seen much worse form get counted as real push-ups, so I'll take that as a win. Lastly, we have these sitting cross-body crunch guys. Normally, I would do just the sit-ups, but I don't have anybody to hold my feet. So going solo, I think this is still a decent test. We don't really need to count for him. He ends up doing 36. Not terrible, not great. It meets the minimum requirement, but that does not mean that it contributes to a passing score. So again, going off of my jog from the other day, right now, I'm not passing an Air Force fitness test. I've met the minimums for the push-ups and the reverse crunch, but even if my 1.5 mile run time of roughly 18:45 scored the minimum amount of points on the 1.5 mile run, I'm still at a 62 and you need a 75 to pass. So Kevin, even with the grading on a 39-year-old curve, you are not fit enough to be in the Air Force currently. That's fine. They're not calling me right now anyway. So like I promised, I've also got the chart here. I have a link for that in the description. So we've got all of our different measurements. Obviously, we've got a little bit of imbalance from right and left sides. That's kind of expected in all of us being right or left-handed. Also with the litany of lower body injuries I have, also not surprised at those being slightly uneven as well. Current body weight of 227.5. My body fat percentage, based on visuals, is about 25 to 30%, somewhere in the middle there. All in all, I think this is a good way to create a baseline. You could probably do it all in, 30, 45 minutes, aside from the fitness test itself. I do recommend filming yourself for this, not that you have to show other people, But again, having visual cues for measuring how well we're doing or the progress we're making is going to be a boon. And going back to do those body measurements, making sure you get them on the same spot, just take a peek at that video before you do it the next time, and you're set up and ready to go. Thank you again for hanging out for this video. I hope you got something out of it. I'm really excited to keep going. In our next video, we'll talk about the growth pillar of Operation Taking Back the Dad Bod. We'll talk about some of my goal setting, so what that's going to look like, and how those things fit in on our little roadmap here. Thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Have a great week.